You have to have patience, you have to have self-awareness, and you have to focus on what is the outcomes your clients want rather than the features. Happy Monday. I am ready to go. I've been on vacation for a week with my family. We went to Durango, Colorado, where I showed them our property that we bought that we're eventually going to build on. And today I got a lot of meetings. I got a lot of playing catch up, and I'm going to take you along on the ride. Now today we are going to talk about what is the most important thing that you have to learn when you're starting an agency. What should you actually be charging? And if you have a particular small niche, how do you generate more business, and what are some tactics that you can go do? Kyle asked, hey, I'm 18 and I'm wanting to create my own digital agency, and since I have to do everything myself, what are the most important things to learn, such as Facebook, web design, SEO? Kyle, congrats on wanting to start an agency at such a young age. I keep seeing this and it's an amazing trend. So I thought I was young when I started my agency out at 22. The biggest thing I want to tell you is patience. You have all the time in the world. Be patient. Now with that being said, the first thing that you need to learn is very, very difficult. And it's not learning a particular service, it's not learning how to do a particular solution like Facebook or web design or any of that. You should already know how to do at least one really well, or you're going to be building a bad brand because you're going to be learning on someone else's dime. But the biggest thing you need to learn is how to say no. You know, too many young agency owners, even veteran agency owners, are saying yes to the wrong things. When you say yes to the wrong things, you're saying no to the right things. And it's just a big distraction. You get on this treadmill that you never can get off of. Look, in the very beginning, yes, you're going to be doing everything yourself. And that's good. I mean, we all start there. But you need to quickly figure out, what are you really good at? And what do you need to bring in help for? So for example, with myself, I was really good at sales and chatting with people. I was really bad at project management because my attention to detail, my grammar, my spelling, it's horrible. So I realized I had that self-awareness of what I was really good at and what I needed help with. So I just concentrated on what I was really good at, and then I started trying to bring in people to fill in my weaknesses, right? Rather than work on my weaknesses, work on your strengths. Don't spend your time on trying to figure out web design and SEO and all these major services. Just focus on one right now and get really well at that. The other thing I want you to do is really focus in on, what are your clients that you're going after? What are their biggest struggles or challenges? And what do they actually want to become? So if you figure this out and you're going after just them, now you can sell an outcome versus a feature. So for example, Apple does an amazing job at this if you think of their commercials. Like their recent commercial just a couple weeks ago I saw is, think about the memories that you can create with the iPhone. Where all their competition is talking about, oh, we have a 50 megapixel camera that can take good photos. Which do you want? Do you want to be sold a feature, or do you want to be sold an outcome? So Kyle, to sum everything up, you have to have patience, you have to have self-awareness, and you have to focus on what is the outcomes your clients want rather than the features. So I wanted you to hear my response to one of my members in the Agency University about asking about what they should be charging as an agency and what other agencies are actually charging. So it doesn't matter on the hours. It matters on the outcomes and the results that you deliver, okay? So have you been tracking the results that your clients have been getting from the services that you guys do? Yeah, so that's a problem I would focus on. Like literally, like the biggest thing, the reason why I see agencies charging so low is because they don't understand the value that they actually provide to their clients. And they say the same thing, right? Where they go, well, we're not really tracking it, or on the e-commerce we can, but on the lead generation, I'm not. And you just have to ask the right questions in the very beginning. Like, how much is a lead worth? How much an impression is worth? How much is eyeballs worth to you? And figure that particular out and benchmark where they started before you and after. So then you can directly tie revenue, because once you know this, so let's say, for example, you designed a website for someone, you did the strategy, designed the website, and they got 1 million more views, and then they valued each view as $1. Well, now you just created them $1 million, okay, in a month or a year or whatever it is. So then what I would do is I would take the average, and this is what I do all the time, is I take the average of the value you provide in the past 6 months to your clients, take the average and then divide it by 10. And that's at the minimum, right? So now whatever anybody gives you, like $1, a pound, or whatever it is, you'd say, hey, we fully expect a 10x result back. That's one. And then the other part is asking them their expectations of what they, think that they're going to spend. So for example, I talked to, do you know who Berkshire Hathaway is? Great, so you were way ahead of me. So they actually called me into their office to design a website many, many years ago. I went into their office, I think I pitched them like a $5,000, $10,000 website. Well, their expectation was $300,000 or $500,000 website for one of their brands. And so I didn't get that. So if I led with kind of that, I would have lost. So to kind of sum that up is, first, you got to figure out what's your floor that you're not going to go under based on the results that you're delivering. The next part is figuring out their expectations that they have, right? Because if you come way under the market, then they're going to be like, dude, there's something, you're not understanding me. So in this next strategy call, I talked to a member about their struggles with going after a small niche and how and what they need to be doing in order to be generating more business. So how do you make first contact with your perfect prospect? Is that what you're asking? So don't think about it as sales, all right? Think about it as, how can you help them? I think if you change that position, that framing in your mind, like, how can I actually help them rather than sell them? I think it'll make it easier for you to reach out to them on LinkedIn, email them, call them. And to answer your question too, is you should hit up them on every channel that they're on. If they're on Instagram, send them a direct message in Instagram. If they're on LinkedIn, send them a direct message. But in the direct message, and when you contact them, you have to help them. So in order to help them, you have to do a little bit of research of what do they struggle with, what's a problem, what should they be aware of. So I did an interview with Del Ross of IHG, I think in episode 4 of the podcast. I think we're up to like in the 200s now. And I asked him, I said, how can an agency call a bigger brand, a C-level, a VP level like yourself, and get their attention? He said, look, I get calls all the time. Hey, take me to golf, take me to lunch, a coffee. And he always says no. He says, what works is if you call in order to help me and offer something that I may not be aware of. And then they always have this kind of play money, right? So for example, you would call them up and say, hey, I noticed you're in the hospitality, it's IHG. I noticed you're in the hospitality industry, and I wanted to make sure you are aware of the Power Editor and the remarketing capabilities that you can do on Facebook. And this is like way back then. And they'd be like, no, I'm not. I'd be like, cool, would you have 10 minutes for me to explain it to you? I could explain it to you now, or we could set up another time, right? So you offer that to them, and then you set up that next meeting. And then at the very end saying, is this something of interest to you that you think would benefit your business? And he'd say, yeah, most definitely. And be like, cool. Well, here's what I think the next steps would be. Let's go ahead and meet. Let's go. And then you kind of start positioning your foot in the door offer. Here's another strategy that you could use. So I would say, let's say if you work for a CBION, and say, hey, Mr. Customer, I wanted to call you. We used to work with CBION, who was recently just acquired. And so we're not working with them anymore, but we wanted to see if you'd be interested to see what worked for them that generated a ton of new subscribers. Instantly, what you're doing is you're showing them, giving them something that they want. You're showing them authority, right? And so you're kind of positioning that, and they're going to be curious to be like, yeah, I want to know what worked for CBION. And also too, you said, hey, they just recently got bought. So that means you did a good job, right? So that's ultimately probably the end goal for them, is the position to sell it. Thanks for giving me your most valuable asset, your time. And if you liked this episode, I want you to comment below. I also want you to share it out with anybody that this would help out. And if you're not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that we're producing. Until next time, have a swank day.